All right. Looking at the film, having some conversations, that game was not good enough in all the different phases. You know, certainly you talk about, you know, the critical variables for how we've won. First and foremost, it's about the ball. You know, we turned it over twice, really 3 times, had a roughing the passer call and an early interception on the first drive, kept us alive and took advantage of that one. And then on the defensive side, we didn't get the ball away from them. And got to give credit to the Saints. They had a game plan. They stuck to their game plan. They out-executed us in some real fundamental ways. And, you know, looking at the kick game, I thought we covered well. I thought the return game was solid. You know, we did have the blocked field goal, which ended up, you know, back in our hands right there. So we had opportunities. Defense gave us more opportunities. We did not have a balanced offense yesterday, and we try to get the run game going like we always do. They did a great job. When we transitioned to the pass, mixed results, not enough explosives. That's the other area. You know, it was 8 explosives to 2. As far as, you know, our 2 offenses go, that's a big flip right there. And the fact that our defense was able to settle in and, you know, really keep the score the way it was. Typically, when you flipped an explosive day like that, it leads to, you know, more points. But we did not respond well to getting the ball back to finish that way. And, you know, so we just have to look at our process and say, hey, we got to get back to work. And we got to make sure we take the lessons from this game. The positives, there's some good stuff on film. The effort was great. We played physical, really in all phases. We looked fast and physical during the game, but it came down to fundamental execution, and that's where we have to take our focus to right now.
A couple of offensive players noted after the game that practice was kind of sluggish or I mean, not as successful as you typically have it during the week. How did you see that manifest itself in this game?
Really, we just have a standard for how we work, and when it's not up to standard, it's my job as the head coach to make sure they're aware of it. I made them aware of it, and you know, this. I've been in the league for a while now, and I've seen sometimes you have a bad practice and you play great on Sunday. Sometimes there's a fantastic practice and you don't get the results you want. So I have to look at both things. But when there's a similarity and it leads to something, it gives me an opportunity to point to the fact that every single week is a championship opportunity. Every opponent requires all we have in our focus and our energy to getting prepared for those games.
When you consider Bryce's skill set, when you're throwing outside the numbers or, you know, in the middle of the field, how are you seeing those successes and failures differentiate from each other?
We have a bunch of metrics that we look at for where the targets are happening in success. I think in general, this is a group effort, you know, starting with the coaching staff as we put game plans together to get our guys in the right positions and make sure that the pass game reflects what Bryce does with confidence. And that's really where our focus has been and will continue to be, so we can get this group playing together and feeling that chemistry. There's flashes of it, but it's not consistent enough for where we want.
All right. When you say with confidence, I mean, do you think Bryce is confident taking those deep shots? Are they being called? What is going on with that?
Yeah, it's a mix of all those things.
What needs to happen for your deep passing game to open up a little bit?
Chemistry, timing, it's everybody. It's protection-wise. It's finding the right opportunities, coverage-wise. And then it's just, you know, the timing and rhythm, me to you factor, you know, getting those guys down there and giving them opportunities to make those plays.
Is it fair to criticize the lack of vertical threat that you guys had? Like Xavier Legette had a post that was basically wide open, ball got hit up. Like there are opportunities there. There have been drops. There have been play mishaps. Are you pushing the ball downfield with your play calling, or do you feel like there's just a disconnect with the production?
In general, I think it's a group effort. You know, calling more of them. Yes, let's get some more opportunities. Would love to have those explosive plays come alive. I will call them more when we have more success and those things come alive for us. But we have to keep working together. We have to keep taking those shots in practice to make sure we feel comfortable with them. And And certainly, for Brad and I, just looking at the pass game, the coverage contours and what they're giving us, pretty simple when they're playing single high and everyone's at the line of scrimmage. We got to make the most of those opportunities when we have them, so that we are a balanced offense. And so it does play off of the run game, which we got going, but now let's get the pass game going so we really can be attacking and the offense that I visualize for us.
Saw you calling and Bryce taking more shots late last season. Why have you gotten away from it? Is it as simple as what you said about kind of getting reliant on the success of this run game?
By numbers wise, we're about the same. I think it's just a matter of chemistry, the full group getting comfortable with those and then making them come alive.
Is Bryce comfortable taking those deep shots?
We'll have to just keep growing as a group and make sure that, we're the time on task, the trust factor, the me to you factor, all those things, grow.
What do you think will help the trust factor? When you say trust factor, do you mean between wide receivers and Bryce, or coaching staff and Bryce, play calling and Bryce?
All the things, and it happens in practice. And we've had these things come alive in practice, and we got to make sure that they make it to the game.
If you're not seeing the success in the vertical game, is there a way to just kind of alternate your approach to open up more yak opportunities?
That could be a strategy as well. There was some good throwing and catching on some of the short intermediate stuff. But I do know you want to stretch the field at times, and we get these vertical shots, called, that we try to make sure that we're attacking the right coverages. And then from there, it's just confidence and me to you factor and working on that chemistry that happens in practice.
You mentioned turnovers being an issue yesterday.
Yeah.
Through the season, your opponents have 68 points off turnovers, which is the most in the league. What needs to be done offensively in order to take care of the ball, and even defensively in those sudden change situations to try to limit that from being an issue?
Yeah, our defense has done a good job of responding to some of those by minimizing what type of points by keeping teams to field goals, but there have been some touchdowns and scores that way. Generally speaking, our guys have had good ball security. We're talking about the pass game, of course, with Jimmy's fumble on the jet sweep. That was just a technique thing. We've talked through that and worked through it. But I think in general, it's starts with the protection up front, making sure, and then it goes to the pass unit, making sure we're where we're supposed to be when we need to be there. And Bryce is making good decisions, in the pass game. And certainly, some of them are sack fumbles as well that, that we shared kind of between him and Andy. So we got to just do a great job in the pocket, securing it. Sometimes you take a sack. That'll happen, but making sure we're emphasizing it the right way.
Do you have an update on Trevor Wallace?
We'll give you an update on Wednesday, all injury stuff.
When and how did you first realize last week's practice wasn't up to the standards you'd like to see?
I'll keep all those conversations in-house, but I just believe when things aren't to our standards, it's my responsibility to address it with the group and speak truthfully to the guys so that we understand what our standards are, what we are expecting from each other.
What do you make of why that happened?
I don't know. Could be the game before, the travel. Maybe it was the victory Monday. And maybe that's not a good strategy for us. But it worked the week before, and giving the guys a little bit of chance to pour a little bit back into the cup. It's not just a physical thing; it's a mental and emotional thing where you allow the guys to have a little space to recuperate and be ready and focused to come back to work. And we have to make sure that we show that we have ability to handle that.
A lot's been made of the success you guys had down the stretch last year, but defensively, you guys didn't have that success. But during this first 10 games, you guys have dropped basically a touchdown off of your points allowance on defense. What are you seeing from that unit? Why has that unit played better over the last 6 or 7 games?
Some key players joined us. Talk about Trey Merrick. We have Turk Wharton. Edge players. Nick Scorton is doing a great job week to week, just continuing to improve. It's a group. Added a couple of guys in there, but then at the same time, it's focus, it's communication, it's guys working together, and coming out of this game, there was some really important drives that our defense got us opportunities back, and we appreciate that. Now it's time for the offense. Let's go. Let's make sure that we can have this balanced offense that we visualize together.
If we've heard guys acknowledge the confidence boost from a win like Green Bay in Lambeau in that environment, and even just how Green Bay is revered at the time. But how do you preserve that confidence coming off a loss like yesterday?
It wasn't just the Green Bay game. We've won games this year playing good, complete football games. Defense, offense, special teams. That's how we found success. And we have to make sure that we replicate that part. What has led to our success? It starts with the run game, on both sides and playing it better. Where we can be special is when we take strides in the pass game on offense so that we can be balanced and explosive and flip the field to give us more opportunities down there in the red zone.
I heard you say it's on me a lot during losses. How much of the losses do you personally take on yourself, and how do you kind of process that?
Yeah, I take on everything that I can as the head coach, and it's my responsibility, certainly with the offensive side of the ball, and making sure that we have a cohesive offense that makes sense, that has balance, that attacks the defense the right way. So when we have a game like yesterday, I take it personal, first and foremost, and then it goes on down the chain, and we have all of our communications with the coaching staff, and then we ask the players, hey, here's what we could have done better. Now here's what you could have done better from a technique standpoint specifically, and that's our process, and that's how we just try to speak the truth in love and be honest with the guys and understand that we have their backs. We want your best, and we feel like these techniques will help you have success in the future.
Last year you had Thielen really step up when you had receivers struggling, and he would help them along. Has anybody taken on that role this year with some of these guys?
We got a great group. We got a great group of veteran guys on the offensive side. They're really supportive. They're all working hard. And, there are people that, David Moore's still hanging out. Hunter Renfro's been amazing just in terms of talking to the guys, having conversations. And then Bryce just bringing the guys together, working on the side during the defensive period. We're doing all the right things. I expect we'll see the results because of the work. I believe that the work leads to good results.
We've seen him after losses where he's been, I guess, more melancholy. Yesterday, he seemed kind of angry. Did you notice a change in his demeanor post-game yesterday than in previous losses? And then, as a head coach, how does that translate to you when you're talking to him, especially on a Monday?
I can't say specifically, but we'll follow back up. We have our Monday afternoon, conversation. We get on the phone and just kind of connect about what we saw, what we're looking at going forward, and we'll make sure we connect on that.
You went from having 4 quarterbacks on the roster, practice squad and otherwise, to 2. Are you bringing Hendon back, or what are you going to do?
We'll bring one of those guys back this week.
Yeah, one more thing. Just going back to your time in Seattle and looking at the progression you guys had there under Pete, have you seen any kind of comparison similarities to this team, knowing that you've had some of the ups and downs this season as you guys progressed back then?
Yeah, I think philosophically it was the belief in, playing a physical brand of football, which of course starts with stopping the run and being able to run the ball. And I know that process takes some belief and buy-in from the group. And, while it may not be the coolest thing for wide receivers to be blocking, a bunch, it's required and it's very important. And our guys understand that. And we're growing to appreciate that part more. But the trade-off is when we do this, let's make the pass game come alive and pay off for all the times we head in there and all of a sudden safety thinks they're blocking me and I'm, going behind them on a route and all that. And so that whole thing really plays into itself. And then it also just makes for really physical practices where the defense is seeing those runs and they can pride themselves on being tough and physical. So it's a mentality that we're committed to. But there's a complement to it that we're working on and that we need to make come alive because the best teams that I was on in Seattle, there was a great balance and we were finding explosives at a higher rate. So that's what we're tasked with. That's what we're attacking right now. Yep. Thank you.